What's up, YouTube? I'm Jacob, and if you couldn't tell, I like E46s. So I've been building turbo kits for the E46 platform for 3-ish years now. It started off as like just a personal car project that I had. I wanted to challenge myself and learn something new, and then it kind of evolved into like a full-fledged side gig that I do now through B Racing Tuning. And I thought it'd be cool to try to make some content out of it and just get some awareness out there that this stuff is not as hard as you would think. If you can weld and have like a little bit of fabrication skills and some tools, it's not that hard. So without further ado, I want to kick this kind of series, kick this channel off with doing something a little on the simpler side, which is making a proper turbo oil drain for a bottom mount turbo setup for these cars. There's a lot of debate online about the right way to do it, but there's one way to make this thing work without fail, and I'm going to show you the proper way. So for parts, you're going to need a drain flange that will bolt to the turbo, and this is going to be specific to your turbo. I believe this GT30, GT35 is kind of universal for most Garrett turbos, T3 style. And then you will need this Vibrant 45 fitting. This is exactly how I built mine when this car was bottom mount. It's not anymore. We'll talk about that later. But this is what you need. So your first step is going to be to shorten these. Obviously, if you have this here, it is way too long. You're going to be way below where you want to be on the oil pan side. So what I do is I chop the threads off of the Vibrant fitting, this 45 here. I get rid of all the threads, and then I chop off the sealing surface for this AN flange. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. So now that that's cut, kind of what it looks like. Hopefully it focuses. I have no idea. I can't see the screen. But gonna give it a little deburr just to make sure there's no metal shavings in there. And I also kind of want to open this up a little bit just so there's nothing that's gonna restrict flow. So, and now I'm gonna do the same thing to this drain flange. I'm gonna cut basically just the tapered sealing portion of this, because obviously that's not going to be used anymore. So got that cut off. I'm now going to do the same thing, just deburr the inside a little bit. It's pretty hot. Whew. It'll focus. There we go. So you can kind of see that I'm going to weld these together like that. First, I'm going to mock it up on the car because I want to get my angle right. So I'm going to do that now. All right, so I have the flange bolted to the turbo. This flange is nice. I think it's a Rally Road. It comes with these hex head bolts. It's nice because you need to get in there at an angle, especially this one, to tighten them. So that's nice. Anyways, it's bolted up to the turbo. You want to have the turbo basically, ideally, as straight up and down as possible with this oil drain, but that's just not possible to do on these bottom mount setups where the turbo sits so low. So I clock it ever so slightly towards the block to get this to work. So what you want to do is position this in a rotation that's going to work. Where I'm going to end up welding the bung on this oil pan, see if I can get this better. You can't line it up directly because that's right under this bolt, and if you weld a bung here, this is never going to seal. It's going to leak like crazy. So you want to go either in front of this bolt or behind it. Now, I'll try to center this up a little better. If we were to go in front of the bolt, when you are accelerating, because that's what you do if you boost your E46, the oil is going to want to slosh backwards. And so in my mind, if your drain is slanted like this, it might not drain the best and you might get smoking issues from your turbo. So since we can't go straight down, I like to angle it a little bit. It's kind of hard to do, but a little bit this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the bung welded as close to this bolt as possible on this side. So close enough that I can still get my socket on here to tighten this bolt, and I'm not going to create any oil pan leaks, so that these BMWs are notorious for. So I am going to get this clocked probably like that, but that's going to require 2 hands and a Sharpie. So we'll get right back to you. Sweet. So I cleaned off this coating and I got this rotation marked with a Sharpie to show you there. I wanted to come back down and show that another benefit to rotating this back a little bit is to gain easier access to tighten this bolt right here. On one of my first iterations of this drain on my personal car, I had this straight. It was a different turbo. I think it was sitting a little bit further forward, so it didn't quite line up with this. But I had this clocked perfectly straight, and it was a nightmare to get this bolt tightened. So this is just another benefit to rotating this fitting just slightly to the back. Okay, this part is always a little tricky, but as you can see, my marks are lined up. Well, almost. I'll fix that. But it's very important, and you're not going to be able to see it on camera, but you want to get these lined up as best as you possibly can so you don't have any mismatch between these two. You want the most direct path of flow possible for oil coming out of the turbo. So this looks really janky, but it works. It's what I do. This is some heat resistant tape that I got off of Amazon. It does melt if you get real close to it with the puddle, but like I'm just going to put a tack right there and then come over here and put another tack on this side and then take the tape off. But this is just to hold it in place so it doesn't move while I tack it together. And with that, the turbo drain piece is complete. The weld doesn't look that great just because this is really dirty aluminum. I'm not sure why. Even after cleaning, they all look like that, but this will not leak. And it turned the black coating this cool bronze color. So I'm gonna let that cool down a little bit and then toss it on the car and continue with the oil pan side. We are back under the car. As you can see, I have the drain flange bolted up to the turbo. I just wanted to show what I was talking about. These nice Allen head bolts, so you can put a hex driver on there and get at it with an angle. You can imagine how hard that would be if this was straight. So anyways, we have it bolted to the turbo now, and as you can see, pointed a little bit back. I'm going to take my pan, and not this one obviously, but a different one, and I'm going to mark right here. But I'm going to go just to the left of this bolt, and that's where I'm going to put my barb. This is a brand new pan that you can get from B Racing Tuning. This is what we send in our kits. And what I'm doing right now, I just have this 10 mil socket that a second ago it stayed up there, but I guess it doesn't want to now. But anyways, this is your drain bung. I'm gonna position it as close to that bolt as I can. That's why I had this sitting here, because you basically just want to make sure you can still get a socket on here to tighten this bolt. But I'm gonna mark this hole and drill it in the pan. I'm gonna basically drill a hole as big as this so that I can slide this in. And then what I'm gonna actually do is, once this hole is drilled, I'm gonna take this baffle out. But once the hole is drilled, I'm gonna slide this into the hole and weld it from the inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that now. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is basically drill into the pan. Drill into the pan, get a pilot hole started. I would just start with this, but my pilot bit sucks and it doesn't want to bite into this, even aluminum. So I'm gonna get a pilot hole started and then switch this out, come in with the hole saw, and I'm gonna test my luck a little bit. You don't want to drill the hole straight on like that, because you want this barb to go in at an angle so that it is either level or at a slight decline from where the turbo is draining the oil out. So if you were to drill straight in, then you'd have it like that, and your oil would have to flow uphill, which is no point. So, like I said, gonna drill my pilot hole and then get in there with the hole saw. It's a 1-inch hole saw, and kind of try to bring the drill up like that and drill at an angle like that. Wish me luck. Well, that actually went pretty smooth. I can't complain. I have the hole drilled there from the 1-inch hole saw. Have the barb, 5/8 barb, that sits nicely in there like that. And as you can see, when the engine is in the car sitting like that, this is perfectly level. It might even be at a little bit of a decline from the turbo, which is what you want. So what you don't want is the oil having to go back up into the pan at an angle like that. So this is perfect. Not gonna have any drain issues with that. I have this baffle that comes in this. I have it removed just so I can weld around here. I'm gonna put that back in, don't worry. But I'm gonna get this cleaned up, get it welded, and meet you right back here. We are cruising right along, all welded up on the inside. She ain't the prettiest, but nobody's gonna see that, and it's not gonna leak, more importantly. Looks a little funny from the outside. It just looks like there's fat gaps, but I promise you, this is the way I weld these pans, and they do not leak. What else? I could throw this baffle back in now. I'm not gonna do it right now because this thing is blazing hot, but still fits. Might have to grind it a little bit to get it to sit better there, but that's a problem for later. I'm gonna let that cool down and then revisit. I will call this complete. Got the baffle back in, pulled this off of the turbo just for cinematic purposes, whatever. One important thing that I wanted to note is the quality of hose that you use is very important. You need to use hydraulic hose that is rated to be submersed in oil. You cannot use just a normal rubber hose for this. One, it's not very heat resistant and it'll melt and do all sorts of bad things. And two, the oil will just saturate it and it'll eat itself alive. It is not good. This is high quality hydraulic hose. Can't remember where I got it, but I have a bunch of it left over from when I did this car. So anyways, as you can see, when you bolt this to the turbo, this hose will come up like that, and it will be at a downward angle the entire way into the pan from the turbo, which is exactly what you want. Got the O-ring back in there. It's all complete. Well, that is gonna wrap up this video. Nice little short, informative video for the first one for the channel. What you can expect from here on out is probably more content on this car. Doing this drain took me like 3 hours because I was filming and had to do a bunch of retakes because I'm an idiot. And this is my first time doing anything like this. So that took me way longer than it would if I were to just sit down, bust it out, and get it done. And my goal this year is to focus on efficiency. So I don't know how much more content I'll make on customer stuff because it just takes a really long time. So the next couple months, I plan on getting a head start on this car, pulling the motor that's in there because it is blown up. Shocker. I'm not even sure what really happened, but cylinder 5 lost about half of the compression that it should have, and it was chugging like a choo-choo train out of the oil cap. So I'm assuming ring lands or something along those lines, but I have some very exciting things in store for this car. 2025 is my year. But anyways, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, if you thought it was informative, give me a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any questions. Let me know what kind of content you want to see. And I'm just gonna end it there. I don't really know how to end this other than